I might regret saying this, but you need to stop selling AI automations. What if I told you that every automation you built is actually holding your business back? So today, I'm going to tell you what the problem with AI automation is. Then I'm going to tell you what you should be building instead and why. And then I'm going to show you step by step exactly how you can take any of your existing automations and turn them into a real scalable product. By the end of this video, you will have a working application that you can sell to clients over and over again without you having to pick up the phone. If you're new here, hi, my name's Duncan. I've grown my AI agency to over $10,000 a month and have sold my workflows to thousands of customers. I help people like you learn how to build and sell AI automations. So here's the problem with AI automation. Let's pretend this is your automation and these are your potential clients. Now, in order to sell your automation to these clients, you have to find your clients, and then you actually have to pitch them on your service and why it's going to be a benefit to them. And then say you actually close the sale and you get them to purchase the automation from you. And let's say your automation does lead generation for real estate agents. Now, this is super valuable, but let's say you have Jim over here in New York and you have Ashley over here in California and you have these guys in some other places, right? Basically, the challenge is you've built this automation and now you have to set it up for them in their business. You have to get logins and credentials from them. You have to set up all their accounts, and you actually need to set up the automation for each one of them individually. But the challenge is, what if these systems break? What if you need to make improvements? Now you have to go to each one of your clients individually to upgrade their systems. This is extremely time intensive. Building automations this way is not a scalable business model because you are limited by the amount of time that you can spend servicing your clients. There's a couple of good things that come from it. In the agency model, you can charge maintenance and retainer fees to do ongoing work for your clients. But again, you're limited by how many clients your business can actually take on. Sure, you can hire more people, but then you have to train them and get them familiar with your clients and make introductions and build new relationships. And there is a ton of work involved in scaling an AI agency. But what if I told you there's something you can do instead that is 100 times more powerful? You probably saw it in the title, and I'm talking about micro-SaaS. I know this sounds buzzwordy, but there's a reason that SaaS became the #1 way to sell software. First things first, if you don't know, SaaS stands for software as a service. And basically what this means is that you pay an ongoing subscription model to have access to your software. This is incredible for a lot of business reasons, the #1 being predictable revenue. With the AI tools available, it is now easier than ever to build your own SaaS. Here's why this is so powerful. And it's actually extremely simple. The biggest difference is that this is still your automation. These are still your same clients. But instead of having to go out and find these clients and implement your automations inside their business, now these clients are all coming to you for the solution that you have. You have created something so good that people are actually coming directly to you to buy it without you having to do anything. And now you don't have to just take on Jim and Ashley as clients. You can take on Jessica, you can take on Brian, you can take on Tim, you can take on Bobby. It's like, it doesn't matter, right? And all of this without you having to do any more work. And the best part of this is you can actually create a significantly better experience for all of your clients. And the reason for this is, instead of having to make improvements to everyone's workflows as soon as updates are available, all you have to do is update the main automation inside of the SaaS application, and immediately every single person here has access to it. They worry about their own logins and credentials. They always have access to the latest and greatest, and they are paying you every single month for something that you have already built. And you know what this means? Lots and lots of money. The best part of all of this is, if you're someone who has already been building AI automations, it is now insanely easy to take your existing automations and almost instantly convert them into a micro SaaS application that you can begin selling today. And what's even cooler is you literally only need 2 platforms to do this, n8n and Lovable.dev. There are other coding tools you can use. You can use Bolt, you can use Cursor, you can use Windsurf. It is really up to you, but Lovable makes it so easy. So let me show you what we're going to be working on today. So this is an existing automation that I already built. And basically this is a lead generation tool, and this can be used for any industry. The way it works is that you execute the workflow, and basically you just put in your target audience in like simple English. Like I can say real estate agents in San Francisco, and then I'll send this off. And then the system immediately gets to work scraping leads based off of your search terms. The system currently will return up to 500 leads for you and then store them all inside a database, or in this case, Google Sheets. But that's not all it does. It actually gets so much better. This second part of the workflow is designed to take those leads, research information about the individual, research information about the company that they came from, store that all inside the database, and then draft a personalized message to them that you can literally just copy and paste into an email and send. This is one of the best ways to get new clients for your business because personalized messages have a significantly higher open rate. So this first part is finished, and you can see we literally got 500 real estate agents in the San Francisco area. I'm going to run this next part just on 3 of them for in the interest of time. And so what I want to do today is I want to turn this exact cold lead system into a micro-SaaS application that we can then start driving traffic to. And it's actually going to be way easier than you think it is. And so I'm thinking that all we need is something really, really basic. We basically need a website, and then on that site is just like a couple of form fields for the user to come and put in the information about who they're looking for and information about themselves and their business. We'll basically go through the same flow that we had, and then at the end, the user will basically receive an email in their inbox with a CSV of all of their leads. And in order to do that, there's basically only one concept that you need to understand, and that's the concept of a webhook. And a webhook is basically just a URL address that you can send information to and get information from. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sending information from this form over to our existing automation. And then from there, we're going to be sending the response of that automation over to the email. I'm in a brand new workspace here, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy over everything that we had from this cold email flow. And I'm just going to paste this in here. And now there are just a couple of changes that we need to make in order to connect this up to Lovable. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this search query, and I'm going to connect this up to a webhook. So I'm just going to delete this, and I'm going to type in webhook. I'm going to bring this in here. So instead of using the form in n8n, we're now going to get the information from the web app. The only thing we need here is going to be this test URL. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this up, and I'm going to connect this up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. So now we can hop over to Lovable, and we can actually already start building this. Lovable is really cool because you can basically build anything from a super basic prompt. So I'm just going to say, I need you to build a simple landing page with a form. The form fields needed are first name, last name, email. Then tell us a little about yourself and your accomplishments. And the first one I want to have is, what type of leads are you searching for? And we can say, please send all responses to this webhook. Then create a success message for the user, telling them they will receive their leads in their email inbox in 5 to 10 minutes. Should really take no more than that. So I'm just going to go ahead and send this off, and let's see what we get. So you can see here that Lovable is already getting to work on our app. So you can see I'll build a landing page with the form you requested. I'm going to come back in a minute when this is done. Cool. So this finished. This literally took like 30 seconds. It's maybe not the prettiest, but we can fix that later. So I'm just going to go ahead. What type of leads are you searching for? I'm going to say real estate investor, San Francisco. And I'll just use my name. And my email, I'll just use duncaniscool@gmail.com. Great. AI agency owner, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here, and I'm going to quickly just test this out to test out the webhook to see if this works. And I'm going to go ahead and do get my leads. And one thing that I mess up literally every single time is this method here. We want to make sure that we set this to post. So now if I listen for event, and I come in here, and I do get leads, great. Now we can say request submitted. Thank you for your submission. You'll receive leads in your email inbox within 5 to 10 minutes. Great. And so if I come back over into our workflow here, you can see we actually have a whole bunch of data that came in from our webhook. You can see the lead type, the first name, last name, email, and then the about. So this is super, super cool. Now we can start using this data in the rest of our flow. I'm just going to go ahead and pin that data. Just hit P on your keyboard. And I'm just going to go ahead and name this lead gen app for now. So the next thing we need to do is we actually need to make a template of our database or our Google Sheet. And so I basically just took this Google Sheet that I already shared with you, and I just made a copy of it, and I called it lead template, and then I just stripped out all of the information. And I kept all the rows up here up top. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the ID up top here. This is between these slashes. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. If I come over here now, I can go to Drive, and I can do copy file, and I can go by ID, and I can just go ahead and paste in the ID here. And so now this is going to make a copy of our lead form. And I'm just going to go ahead and close this up. And what we can do is we can actually name this file name. And then we can just do first name space last name. You can see here, so this is going to be the name of our file, which is going to be basically the search query and then our name. And we can go ahead and connect this up to the rest of the flow. And I'm just going to execute this now so that we have a copy to work with. And I'll just hit P to pin this data again. And now I'll come in here. Now for the URL generator, so basically what this is doing is this is using a service called Appify, which has a bunch of scrapers for you to actually get leads from a platform called Apollo. And now if I come into the system prompt here, Apollo has a really specific URL that you need in order to actually perform the search. And this is what it looks like. So basically the purpose of this node here is to just take the user's query, like real estate investor San Francisco, and turn it into something that Apollo can use to scrape leads. And here you can see we have the old target audience hooked up. And what I can do is I can just delete this and I can come into our webhook. And now I can just go down and I can grab the lead type and put this into our target audience. So if I go ahead and click execute step here, now we'll be able to see that we've generated a URL that Apollo can actually use. And here's what that looks like. Oh, and I'm just going to go ahead and pin the data here. The scrape leads flow stays the same. The Google Sheets generally stays the same. There's only one thing I want to add in here. I just want to add equals, row, and then open parentheses, close parentheses. And basically it's just going to create a numbered row for each one of our entries. Google Sheets doesn't have this functionality built in, but if we use this little formula, it'll work for us. We're doing this so that we can reference the rows later on in the flow. The only other thing we need to change in here is we need to change the document that we're adding our leads to. So instead of from list, I'm just going to go ahead and do by ID. I'm just going to paste in this formula here, which is getting the ID from our copy file node. Now you can see here, we didn't have access to this. So let me just show you how I grabbed that really quick. I basically went into this scrape leads node, which we did have access to, and I just created another field just so we could have it. And I just went in here and I grabbed the ID and I basically just copied this expression. So now when I come back in here and paste this in, you can see this is actually going to be the file that we just created. So I'm just going to run this through once so we can continue with the rest of the flow. This is scraping 500 leads, so this is going to take a second to run. So I'll come back when this is finished. Cool, so this finished running. And if we come into our new Google Sheet, you can see we have all of the leads and all the information. First name, last name, headline, company, job title, website, et cetera, et cetera. So this is basically everything we need to continue with the rest of the flow. Now, there's one little hacky thing that I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add a limit node. And so basically you can see that coming out of, and I'm just going to set the limit to 1. And the reason I'm doing this is basically if I zoom in here, you can see that we're getting 106 items coming out of this Google Sheet, which basically means that the rest of the flow is going to run 106 times, which is ridiculous. We only need it to run once at this point. So I just added this limit here to kind of like compress this down to 1. There's maybe a better way of doing it, but I think this is a really easy way. So I can go ahead and I can delete this test workflow trigger. I can come down here and I can just connect this get leads up to our earlier flow. And what's cool is I can just use this same expression in our get leads field. And from list, I can go to by ID, switch this to expression, and I can go ahead and I can paste this in. And if I go to from list, we should be able to select leads again. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to get all of the leads that are added to our new file. We're going to go ahead and loop through them like we did earlier. We're going to do the personal research. We're going to research their company. We're going to create the personalized message that we can send in an email. We're going to update that in the database for us. And then we're going to turn that into a CSV and attach it to an email. And this limit here, I'm just going to set down to 3 in the interest of time. Basically, this is just how many leads are we going to go through this process with. And the other thing we need to do is we just need to come into this update database node, and we basically need to do the same thing. So I can come in here, copy this same formula that we're just using to reference our Google Sheet. And again, do the same thing. Change this by document, go to expression, go ahead and paste this in. So I'm just going to let this run through one time so that we have access to everything we need in order to create our CSV file and then send this to an email. And then I'm going to show you how we can go back to our form and make it look a whole lot prettier. Cool, so if we come back into our sheet, you can see we've actually filled this out with the research and the personalized message. So if we come back here, I'm just going to use that little hack I used before, the limit hack, because basically you can see we have 3 items coming out of here and we only need 1. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go to Drive. I can come in here and I can do download file. And by ID, I can go ahead and copy that same formula that we've been using. Go ahead and paste this in. Change this to expression. And we do have to add some options here. Basically, I want to add Google file conversion and go add conversion. And so what this is going to do is that Google is going to download this as like a binary file, and we want to make sure that we're properly converting the Google Sheet to CSV. The other thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and we want to add a file name. And for the file name, we can come all the way back down to our webhook here, and we can do the same thing. Cool, and then I just added this little expression here. I just typed .replace /space/g, comma, and then double quotes to basically remove all of the spaces. We can do underscore, first name, underscore, last name, And then all we want to add at the end is .csv so that when they download this, it's actually recognized as a CSV file. And I can go ahead and click execute step. And so now we've downloaded the CSV and we can attach this directly to an email. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the plus here and I'm going to type in Gmail. And if you need to know how to connect your Google Drive credentials to n8n, I'll leave a video up here that'll walk you through it step by step. So I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to do, for us, I'm just going to do create a draft because I just want us to be able to reference this. But for you, you would do send, right? The subject, we can basically just say like your leads are ready. And we could do the same thing here. We could actually just add the information from the webhook so that they actually know that this is really coming from us. Come down here, we can do the lead type. Change this to expression so I can actually drop it in there. Lead type, cool. And the message we can say, change this to expression too. And I'm just going to open this up here and we can say, hi. Come down here, grab the first name. Your new leads are ready. Download the attached CSV and you're good to go. And just sign this off as the team or whatever. Now what we can do for the options here, we can go add an option and we can do attachments and we can do add attachment. And for the field here, if we look, this field is actually named data. And so basically all we need to do here is come in here and just name this field data. And one other option, we need the to email, which is actually the email address that we're sending this to. And we can just grab this from the original webhook. So come in here and then grab the email address from the form. This is pretty much good to go. There is one thing that I want to change. So basically I set this up before for my cousin who owns a fabrication shop, but we need to be able to make this more generic so this could apply to anybody who's coming to use our product. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this into Claude. I'm just going to say I need to adjust the following prompt. It needs to be made more generic. The data for the prompt will be coming from a form that includes first name, last name, and then information about the user's business. So I'm just going to paste that in here and let's see how this does adjusting the prompt for us. And so this is pretty cool. It says you're an expert in cold email outreach, et cetera, et cetera. And then here's the input data that it's expecting and then some information about who we're sending this to. So we actually don't have a lot of this information. So like basically we didn't ask on our form to include like the industry or sector. We didn't ask them to include like, target customer types or anything like that. We can go ahead and add these forms to the field if we think they're important, but we want to keep this a little simple for now. I'm just going to say like all you'll receive are the fields I mentioned. Cool, so this is creating a much more generic version for us. And I think this is gonna work for our needs today. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this and come back into our template here. And I'm just gonna paste this in. And then from here, what we can do is we can actually update the sender business information to be the information from our webhook. So I can say first name, last name, about their business. Cool, so this should now actually be customized for every single person who fills out the form. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click save. And I wanna test this out end to end. So I'm just gonna unpin this data here so that we're starting totally fresh. And let's come back into Lovable. Let's see, submit another request. We're gonna use the same information. Agency owner, let's add a little bit more details here. Saved customers, hundreds of hours, specializes in social media automation. Let's do something like that. So I'm just going to click execute workflow. I'm going to come over to Lovable. I'm going to submit this. We should get a success message saying that our request has been submitted. Then once the system is done processing, we should get an email in our inbox with a CSV of all of our leads, all of our personalized outreach messages that we can just copy and paste and start sending off today. So I'm going to come back in a couple of minutes once this is finished to show you the result. In the meantime, we can actually work to make our form look a lot nicer. So what I like to do is I'll just come over to a website like Behance and I'll just do a search for like UI UX. In this case, I just typed in dark mode. And what we can actually do is like, we can just take a screenshot here and we can come over back to Lovable and we can just paste this in. I'm going to say, make the UI UX look more like this reference. I'm just going to go ahead and send this off. And it shouldn't change anything about our field or the way it functions. It should purely change the visuals. Cool, super cool. So this went ahead and updated the design. And what we can basically do is we can say like add a pricing section for 10 leads, 100 leads, 500 leads. So now what we can basically do that I think is actually really cool is you can start sending traffic to this site and people will pay for the amount of leads that they're generating. And so basically inside of this flow, you can have your landing page, send the pricing tier to the system. And all you would do here is you would change the limit for the number of items this returns based off of the pricing tier. Cool. So this is awesome. You can see here we have all these different pricing tiers. You can change the prices to whatever you want, but you get the idea. And so now we can come back in here and we can actually see that our automation is finished. And if I come over to my email, I have a draft, but if I was like a user of the site, this would actually just show up in my inbox. This just says your leads are ready, your new leads are ready, download the attached CSV, good to go. Again, you can change that message to whatever you want. And so if I just come in here and click download, I've now downloaded the CSV. And if I go ahead and open this up, I'm on a Mac, so it's going to open up in numbers. But you can see here, we now have all of our leads, the company they work for, the job title, the website, the research about the individual, the email address, the LinkedIn URL, and the personalized message that we can send off today. So you can see here, hi, Joan, really enjoyed reading about the Prado Group strategic $124 million acquisition in San Francisco. I run an AI agency that specializes in social media automation. We saved customers hundreds of hours recently by streamlining their online presence. Would you be open to a quick 15-minute call to discuss how we might be able to support you? So you can see that this system crafts personalized messages based off of the user's work and experience. And then once you're ready to push the site live, all you have to do is click publish and start sending traffic to the link. If you thought this video was helpful, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Check the link in the description if you want to learn how to build and sell AI automations, and definitely watch this video up here where I show you how you can use the new n8n MCP to build automations with a single prompt. I'll see you over there.